For our first panel of the conference, we're bringing together both clinical and family perspectives on the LCC diagnostic journey. Julie Ray is a nurse practitioner who brings valuable clinical experience caring for children and supporting families through complex medical needs. She is joined by Danielle and Josh Brown and Kelly Fushi, LCC parents who understand firsthand the uncertainty, persistence, and emotions involved in searching for answers and receiving a rare diagnosis. We're grateful for their willingness to share their experiences so openly. So please join me in welcoming Julie, Danielle, Josh, and Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie. I am a pediatric nurse practitioner by trade, and I have a privilege of taking care of your children. And if not, then it was so great to meet you at either previous conferences or even this conference. But we have 3 lovely parents with a lot of expertise in taking care of children with LCC. So today our panel is focusing on the Diagnostic Odyssey, which is a formal fancy term to say, what is this journey from diagnosis like from the parent's perspective? So we thought this was a very important panel for them to share their experience, and hopefully you, if you're a family member here, that you can either resonate with them and share your experiences as well later, or if you're a clinician or researcher, can also just take in the parent's perspective as you take care of children with LCC. Now, I want everyone here introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your child who has LCC and age, some background information.
My name is Kelly Foshi. We are from Mississippi. My little girl is Lucy. Some of y'all met her yesterday. She is 8 years old. We got diagnosed in 2025. So this is fairly new to us, but we've got a whole journey of how we got here. But we're glad that we're here, and we're glad to be with everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Brown. It's my husband, Josh Brown. Our son, Anderson, is 5 years old, and he got diagnosed with LCC back in 4. Yeah, it's been a journey. We've got the diagnosis in 2022 when we first had our MRI. So it's been quite a journey to get our diagnosis and to be here now.
All right. So can you share with us, before your child was officially diagnosed, what were some of the initial signs that you've noticed that made you wonder, hey, maybe something's up? And what were those signs? When did you realize that?
So with Lucy, it was a little different than what I've been hearing from everybody else. She was just delayed walking and talking, but her pediatrician said that it was normal. They walk and talk at their own rate. It wasn't until I had gotten her out of the bath one night and she had fallen and hit the back of her head. And me being a new mom at the time, she's my one and only, I took her to the ER. And at that age, they normally just monitor for concussions, things like that. But she decided to run a CT scan. And that's how we found the calcification. And from there, we got referred to a big hospital in Mississippi. And we got misdiagnosed with Cardi-Gutierrez syndrome, AGS. And we had that diagnosis for 6 years. And there was a constant battle of me telling them that it didn't fit. Things were getting worse, headaches, speech. And finally, they decided to do a repeat MRI and realized that it wasn't AGS. And that's when we got the genetic testing for Lebrun syndrome. And that's where we're at today with that.
So Anderson had his first seizure at 2 months old. He was a preemie. He was born at 36 weeks. Yeah. And when he had his first seizure, we did an MRI, and his MRI came back fine and normal. And about 2 years later, he had a breakthrough seizure, and that's when we did his first MRI. This is about January 2022. And that's when our doctors in Providence, Rhode Island, found the cysts and calcifications, and they weren't sure what it was, and they sent us to Boston. We went to Boston. They didn't see anything abnormal from him other than his MRI, and I did my own research and found the LCC Foundation and the Facebook page. I found Dr. Fraser in DC, and I was like, we have to get there. They know what they're talking about, and that's where we are now, and here we are.
Now, Kelly already touched base on this a little bit about being misdiagnosed with a Cardi-Gutierrez syndrome, and you probably Googled that, went down that rabbit hole a little bit. Now, for Anderson or AJ, was there any point in your journey where they were like, oh, this could be something else before you went through the diagnosis?
Yeah, so when we first had his MRI, they gave us 3 different diagnoses that it could be. The first one was a bacterial infection, the second one was Coats, and then the third one was LCC. So we had to go through the motions. We had to go see an eye doctor, rule that out, ruled out the bacteria, and then we were stuck with LCC. Our geneticist at Hasbro didn't do the appropriate genetic testing, so we wasted pretty much a year not getting a diagnosis. Once they realized they didn't do the right testing and we did the testing and got the results, they couldn't diagnose him. They still had no idea what was going on. We finally got our diagnosis in Boston, and then that's when we were able to go to DC once we had that final diagnosis.
So the participants online are also saying that they were given diagnoses of ADHD, cerebral palsy is a big one, hypotonia, which is low muscle tone, and epilepsy, like what you were saying as well. So thank you everyone for participating. So sorry to step back a little bit, but what was the hardest part of not having a diagnosis before your child was officially diagnosed with LCC?
Going through a whole year not knowing what our son has was really hard because we're like, what does he have? Does he have something worse that no one knows about? Does he have this? And going back and forth with that was really hard, not having that diagnosis. But now that we do, it's time to move forward.
With Lucy, we didn't really think anything was particularly wrong with her, just a little delayed, but there was nothing concerning. She didn't have any seizures or anything like that. So I don't really have a opinion on the before.
She just had that one head injury. There's a wide variety of answers online as well, not understanding some of the physical and maybe some of the behavioral changes, some others. Yeah, the unknown is big. Now, I think you touched base a little bit, but I know for Anderson, you guys went to a couple different hospitals. What about for Lucy? Did you have to go to a couple different hospitals and medical specialists?
So we started out at Le Bonheur in Memphis, Tennessee, and we were there for 6 years until we finally got the LCC diagnosis. And she said that it's not really her area. She'll got us in with Dr. Frazier, and we eventually decided to move to Jackson, Mississippi at the Children's National, and we got a great neurologist team there. They have a branch in Tupelo, 40 minutes from where I'm at, and they have been great as well. So just a few hospitals, not as many as I've heard some have been through.
Can you share with us a little bit about sort of the feelings that you were going through, if you can remember? Sorry, now I'm having you backtrack, of trying to process the before you had the LCC diagnosis. What are some of the emotions that you were going through?
I think we were very stressed and concerned that he had this rare genetic disorder that no one knows about. Even our doctors had no idea. I remember being in the hospital because we got admitted so we could do a CT scan the next day, and our doctor pulled up Google and Googled what LCC was, and fear of not knowing what our future would look like.
So when I found out with the AGS, it's still a very hard diagnosis as well. There's no cure for AGS, and I dealt with that for 6 years, and it was like I was starting all over again with something new. And there's still days that I just want to sit and cry in my kitchen floor to think that she's going through all this, and she does it with a smile.
Sorry, we have to go back. But I think a lot of the family members in this room share what you're feeling with the emotional roller coaster, to say the least, of the whole process from not knowing to then knowing. Yeah. Now, switching gears a little bit to the clinicians in the room, did you ever feel in some of this you were upset or hurt or anger, any of that? Did you ever feel like the medical system failed you or there was mistrust there?
When we first got the MRI with the cysts, our doctor said we need to do genetic testing to see if he has the sworn 118 gene. So we did it, they told us that he didn't have it, he's good, and then waited a whole year for them to say that they didn't do the appropriate testing. That was very frustrating. I feel like we were very communicative with our doctors, so they could have called us and said, "Hey, we found this new testing. We would like you to come in and do it." That's very frustrating, and I was very angry in that meeting because something so rare, I feel like our doctors would wanna jump on this real quickly, but that didn't happen. But now that we're here, it's, again, time to move forward and get things done.
Honestly, I actually wanted to say something about this. It wasn't even just the doctors and the hospitals and whatnot. It was also the insurance companies. We got denied multiple times for the gene testing, and that was probably one of the most frustrating things. The thing to tell us that AJ has this diagnosis, the big thing was to get the gene testing done and find out the results from that to move forward. And they denied us at least 5 or 6 times. And that was probably, for me, most frustrating. And like Danielle said, at the time when we were first dealing with the hospitals and the doctors, and it just felt like nobody was taking it seriously at the time. And I understand that as a firefighter EMT, it's not your emergency, it's their emergency, and you want to take things, understand what's going on and do the testing and stuff, but it just never felt like it was out of their reach, the doctors we initially had, and didn't push to get us to. Danielle did all, honestly, I didn't do it nearly as much as Danielle did, but, and I hate to say that, but she's been working her ass off with everything with AJ, and I'm just very proud of her, and she's the reason why we're here, and I'm very thankful for that.
Our biggest difficulty would be being misheard. There was concerns that I had about Lucy, and doctors kept telling you that she looks good, she's doing good, and that's what you want to hear as a parent. And that wasn't the case. And definitely after repeat and repeat of me telling you that something's wrong, it's time to change. It's time to do tests. It's time to figure out why it's changing and why we can't listen to the parents. It was very hard to have somebody look at me like I was stupid. And so that was one of the biggest that we have faced. And insurance, paying for therapies for my daughter has been hard.
Yeah, so you touched base a little bit about some of the financial hardship. How did any of this journey impact home life? Other siblings, family members?
I think it's very stressful, and especially with our oldest son. He doesn't fully understand why we're always at the hospital, why we're always traveling, why we're always doing this. I would have to say now he's starting to put some pieces together and figure out what's going on. He asks some questions. So that's really hard to tell him, like, there's something wrong with your brother. Be nice to him. Stop fighting. Yeah, but I do have to say we have a great support system. Our family is always there for us, asking questions. They know what to do if Anderson has a seizure. Yeah, they're just really good, and they're always there for us.
So I have a great support system, and we're back and forth at doctors too. And while Lucy's the only child, we have a lot of nieces that trying to explain to them that Lucy's a little different. She's the oldest out of all, but she's a little different. But financially, I'm able to stay at home with my daughter, which is great. And I'm honored to be able to financially do that. I was working up until her diagnosis, but we were in the doctors. I was taking off work all the time, just her not feeling good on a day-to-day basis. And it wasn't fair to my work, and it wasn't fair to Lucy. And so I'm a stay-at-home mom, but it's taken an impact money-wise. I don't get that extra little money, but we're making it, and we take it day by day.
All right, we're going to shift gears to receiving the official diagnosis of LCC. What information, or I guess first, how do you feel when you touched base a little bit about it, but in case there's something else that triggered your memory, what sort of feelings did you have once you had an official name for the diagnosis? And at the time of diagnosis, what information were you given or you remembered? Because, right, sometimes it's really hard once you receive that diagnosis to absorb everything that the medical people are trying to tell you. So what do you remember from when you first received that diagnosis?
So I remember when we got the maybe diagnosis, and I feel like we grieved a lot with it. And then when we got our official diagnosis in Boston, we just felt like we knew it. Like we knew that this was coming. But to hear them say he has LCC now was just, it was almost like we were relieved because then we can move forward.
So with Lucy, I'd said that she was misdiagnosed, and I battled that for 6 years. I came to know it, familiar with it, researched, and this was how we're going to be. And then when we got the new diagnosis, felt like we were starting at square one. And it was definitely a lot of uphill battles, and Lucy was the heart of it all. She is so smiley, and she kept everybody in check. I promise you, if you meet her, you know.
For those who don't know, Lucy is my new bestie now. We were sitting next to each other at dinner last night, and she was so sweet. Okay, what do you wish someone had told you immediately after the diagnosis? Something that maybe
I wish the doctors told us that there was an LCC foundation so we didn't feel lost and we didn't feel like we had to do our research and we had to do our own homework pretty much to get where we are today.
Exactly what she said. Thankfully, when we did get the diagnosis, our doctor did refer us to Fraser, and we got started with that. And then that's how we learned Ashley through the LCC. So thankfully, we didn't have to do that part ourselves. And I hate that y'all had to struggle with that. But I'm glad that we're here and we're moving forward.
in your opinion, what do you think could have shortened your diagnostic journey?
I think I said it before, not having to wait that year of not doing the right appropriate testing could definitely have shortened it. And we could have probably been to the 2022 family conference.
Mine would have to be being misheard, not understood, not listened to, because when I was explaining that things were declining in Lucy and seeing a change and them not listening to me, we could have probably been here in 22. So it was definitely really hard for a doctor, a professional to not take me seriously. Like I didn't know about my child who I'm with every day, and you see them once a year.
Now, for the clinicians and the researchers in the room, how can we better partner with the families here in helping with the diagnostic process and journey?
I think just listening to us as parents and listening to what we go through on a day-to-day basis and not just, okay, yep. Oh, he's 4. I've heard that a bunch of times. Oh, he's 2. He'll grow out of it. So I think just listening to us more.
Yes, definitely listening. When a child is in clinic for your 1 year checkup and she's having a great day, or they are having a great day, to you, they look great, but last week they were not doing so good. And when I explain these things to you as a parent, they should be heard and not dismissed. And we struggled with that for 6 years of being dismissed. And that is what caused us to be misdiagnosed and for things to get worse before we got our diagnosis.
Any barriers in the physical healthcare setting that now that you're diagnosed and your child is being seen by the medical facilities and clinics, any barriers that you're experiencing that maybe the clinicians and researchers should know about to be considerate for your child?
I don't think so much here. I think back in Rhode Island, I had to, because of what we went through, I felt like I couldn't trust them anymore, if that makes sense. And I felt like I needed to find a new neurologist and find new doctors that I can trust and that can understand me as a parent and then understand AJ and want to learn from us too. Because at the end of the day, we're parents and we go through this every single day and we see the difference in our child from day to day. Teaching the doctors as parents and then knowing what we know and giving them the LCC Foundation. I don't know how many times I've given stickers of the LCC Foundation to different doctors or therapists or things like that. Teachers too. The school system that we are great. Yeah.
She hit it right out. All right. And then last question, despite everything that you have gone through, what keeps you fighting for your child in the future for children with LCC?
So you may agree with me at dinner last night, but my little girl, she has the brightest smile and she always has her tongue out and she's just bubbly and goofy and she can be shy, but she is what gets me through the day to day. And she is why we're here today and why we will keep fighting.
Pretty much.
And I hope the participants online can put in the comments about what keeps you going as a parent or researcher or clinician. I think these encouraging messages from the families and everyone else that is involved with these children is really what helps us proceed with this journey and keep fighting. So with that being said, I just want to thank our wonderful panel participants here who are the experts in LCC for really going through and reliving the past a little bit. I'm sorry we had to do that, but I think it was really important for everyone to hear and relate with your journey. It'll always be challenging to talk about. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you to Ashley for organizing this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys so much for being so open and honest and sharing. That is super important to share with everyone.